Despite all odds, we are still live. Literally, right as we're chatting here in the pre-stream lobby, I get a message from Comcast that says, like, literally just minutes ago, that says, we're working in your area to restore internet. Oh my God. Like, I can't believe we're even live. It actually worked. We're actually live. We've identified a network performance issue that may be affecting your service and needs to be repaired right away. We're actively working on it. It's going to blah, blah, blah. 3:30. So 2 hours from now, it should be done. We're going live anyway. We don't care what the ISP overlords say. We're live, baby. Hopefully we don't get disconnected midstream, but honestly, we've had issues over the last few streams, so we'll just be par for the course. Here we are. Friday. Bitcoin continuing to make history. That's right. Hitting all-time highs, yesterday, the day before. Today, pulling back a little bit, potentially on tariff talks, but we just finally got a signal again. We've been looking for this. Shout out to 𝐂𝐡𝐚𝐫𝐭 directing our attention to this a few days ago. Finally got the signal we were waiting for, and maybe even more. Last time this happened, Bitcoin rallied 60%. It was October of last year, brought us to new all-time highs, and brought a lot of spice. So, we are here. We are live. I got some homework I got for you guys, and then we're just gonna vibe. If you could, please smash the like button, subscribe, hype it up. It's Friday. We also have a really great poll going. I'm curious what you guys think. Answer in the poll. What's up, Corny? Hit the likes. That's right, my friends. We need more likes. We never get enough likes. Here we are. I got pulled up in front of us the Into the Cryptoverse, Benjamin Cohen's data portal. And guys, this is a really great product. I barely even shill my own stuff. This is a great product. If you like what you see here, intothecryptoverse.com. I don't have an affiliate link or anything for you, but I think you can put in a code when you sign up. Just put in Tom Crown. I don't know, Tom. That way, if anybody signs up, at least it looks like I did something. But great data. I've been diving into this. I brought this up the last stream. I'm looking into it more, kind of what I like. And here is a metric that we have been waiting for. This is the hash ribbons. Hash ribbons is kind of an interesting indicator, very cleanly displayed by the site. Hash ribbons is essentially two moving averages. I believe it's the 30-day and the 60-day moving average for Bitcoin's hash rate. So do not use this indicator on other charts. It is not going to work for them. If it does, it's just coincidence, right? This is the hash rate. So how much mining power is going on a day-to-day basis or on a running average of 30 and 60 days. And when we see these averages cross bullishly or bearishly, it's been a pretty good indicator. We've had a pretty good indicator of at least local bottoms or price action continuation, bullishness in the market. I'm not sure if it works super well in the bearish side, but in the bullish side seems to work decently. So we've been watching this. We've had many parallels between last year and this year. Last year, from March into August, we saw a sell-off from 75K down to sub 50. This year, we saw a sell-off from 110K down to about 75, and we've been drawing lots of parallels between them. Many indicators, many macro signals, and this is one we've been waiting on, so I'm excited to share it with you. In August, we got to go back. In August here, maybe I should reset this, do it again. Yeah, a little better zoom. That didn't work. Little better zoom. There we go. In August of last year, we got our hash signal, a hash ribbon buy signal fired directly before August's low, before last year's pullback after all-time high. We got it directly before, and then after the low was in and price began to recover, in August, we got the buy signal one more time. From this signal, from the second signal, price rallied 60% to new all-time highs into Q4 of that year. And when drawing the parallels, we look again to this year and we see something pretty similar. We got our buy signal flashing right before April's low came in, and we can see the buy signal noted by these dotted lines here. Coming in right before April's low, and we basically observed this and said, if this is repeating again, like many things are on our chart, we're going to be looking for one more buy signal now that the price has begun to rally. Coming in hot right here. We finally got it again, exactly as predicted. We see the buy signal come in. I believe this was yesterday on yesterday's close, and this is going to be the second signal, the second buy on the hash ribbons that we've been waiting for, and we're looking for new all-time highs. Now, does it guarantee all-time highs? Of course not, but this is just one piece of a puzzle of many comparisons, many reflections of last year and the year before. I don't think it actually happened in 21. I didn't do my homework for that one, but reflecting last year, and we see so many similarities here. The buy signal on the hash ribbons flashed right before the death cross this year, marking the low. It happened last year, right before the low in August, and we finally got it again. So what do you guys think? Is this bullish? Do you think we're going 60%? Honestly, 60%, not a terrible target. If we look at the chart, which we will in just a little bit, I think our fib extension sits roughly around there, about 160, 170K. Perhaps history will rhyme here. This is certainly, like everything, not a guarantee, but I definitely like what I'm seeing with this hash ribbon, showing miners' interest coming back in, profitability moving up, more miners joining the network, and things looking pretty dang good. I'm seeing some subscribers here. What's up, Edgar Alexander and Darren Alexander? You guys related? If you are, the Alexander brothers are here. Be like them. Subscribe. If you do, while we're live, you will see this number update in real time. Or at least it should. Update in real time, and your name will, there it is, pop up, and I will shout you out just like the Alexander brothers. So don't sleep on it. Also hit the likes and subscribes. Keep the stream popping. We got more to look at today. This was just the opener little chart. I like the way this is displayed. I like lots of Benjamin Cohen stuff. Let's be real. Our analysis, the way we see the market, has always been pretty, maybe not the same analysis, but the way we view the market in terms of Bitcoin, etc., always had some alignment there. I'm still digging through all of the data, all of the charts. There's so much here on the site. It would take you maybe weeks to get through it all. I wanted to look at a few things that I really like, though, on here. So supply held by exchanges. Of course, there's very hard to do all exchanges, especially with OTC, things like that. But by the major exchanges, I'm liking this graph. You know, we don't like to say this time is different because it's a dangerous sentence. Every time I think I've heard someone say this time is different, it's ended up being the same, and they ended up getting wrecked. But something really interesting here, supply on exchanges. People were talking about this a lot, kind of in the last cycle, and maybe even over the bear market, 2021, maybe even into 23. But people seemingly have kind of lost interest in this, and maybe because it hasn't been quite as exciting. But I wanted to zoom out and take a look at this and make the argument in some ways that this time is different. Though last time was different too, there's a different vibe no matter how you look at this. For the first 10 years of Bitcoin's existence, we saw obviously new Bitcoins being mined and being sent to exchanges. This logically gave us a pretty steep uptrend of supply on exchanges, meaning how much Bitcoin is available to be sold on exchanges at any given time. This trended up until about 2020. The timing, why it changed there, I don't know. But it is interesting nonetheless that since then, we have seen a rather consistent decline in supply on exchanges. There's a lot of videos out there saying this is going to send Bitcoin to 80 bajillion million moon, etc. I'm not saying that because that's just a bunch of bullshit. It's not how it works, guys. But it does show us how much selling pressure is available at any given moment. And more importantly, the trend of supply being removed from exchanges, if it's extrapolated out, does have supply shock or greater bullish implications. If there's a tenth of the supply on exchanges available to be sold, there's only a tenth of the selling pressure that can happen at any given time. And while it is easy to move coins in and out of exchange, this greater trend kind of shows us that over time, we may expect to see this continue, and we may expect that supply to someday become maybe not enough to meet demand, right? I think that's kind of the bigger picture of this. It's interesting, though, because supply on exchange hit its highest point right at the COVID dip, right at the COVID crash. We saw, I don't even know what number this is, 1.75 million Bitcoin, maybe. Total, tons of it jumping onto exchange during the COVID crash. And since then, it has pretty consistently trended down. In bullish market conditions, we do tend to see, kind of counterintuitively, we do tend to see this move up a little bit as people move coins to exchange to take profit. Miners, of course, moving coins to exchange pretty consistently to take profit. Each having those miners creating less Bitcoin, having less to send to supply or less to send to exchange every block or whatever. But this doesn't really match up with what I would expect. We see that dip, or the expansion of new supply entering the market at the COVID dip, that begins to move down as price reapproached all-time high and then rocketed back up into 2021's high, the bull market top. We saw that peak out in the summer, and it began again then to trend down until, I guess, the bull market started. What catches my eye here is we did have a little spike in August of last year, of 24, right at the low. So what we can kind of infer, and this is again counterintuitive, is when big flows of coins move to exchange at market lows, maybe we should look for a reversal in the future. We have a good example of that in the March crash, again in the August crash, retrace, whatever. But that was quickly moved off exchange pretty much the next day. This does kind of interfere with that smoother overall decline of total supply, but in general, this just continues to move down. It's rather nice. But this could be the argument of, is this time different? It's really a dangerous thought. We did have this in the last cycle, and I would say the last cycle was kind of different from what we had seen, not just from a chart perspective, but maybe from kind of price increase expectation perspective. Certainly things have changed since then. We have a friendly government in the US, ETFs, companies buying Bitcoin hand over fist. But what do you guys think about this? Where does this lead? There will never be no Bitcoin on exchange. And kind of counterintuitively, March of 2020 was the highest point. Since then, we've trended down. Will we see a greater trend reversal on this again at some point? And when do you guys think it might be? Because unlike in 2020 at previous all-time high, we saw this big dip. We didn't really get that here. We did get somewhat of a dip as we broke all-time high here, but it wasn't quite as exaggerated. It wasn't quite as big. It has trended back up, as we have seen in bullish scenarios, people sending coins to exchange to take profit. But I like this. I like this chart. I like the direction it's going. I just wonder, I can't help but think, will we see year to 4-year, maybe entire cycle periods where this trend reverses, where we see supply to exchange kind of return? The argument that we will not see it makes sense because there are a lot of other outlets buying Bitcoin in big numbers. That may prevent these exchanges, because we have Bitstamp, Poloniex, Binance, Gemini. These are kind of retail exchanges. They're not accounting for, let's say, Coinbase custody of ETFs assets, or Sailor, or whoever else is buying Bitcoin. This may be kind of permanently changed from that, but it's an interesting thought experiment. So I wanted to do more with Into the Cryptoverse's site here today, but there's just so much that it takes time to digest, and I'm not always the best at that. So it's going to take me a little bit of time. If you guys want to get into this site and check it out more, go to intothecryptoverse.com. This is Benjamin Cohen's awesome data thing. Has so much data, so many charts. I love it. I'm nerding out. If you sign up, use code TOM. Just put in TOM. If you can put in a code. I don't have an affiliate link or anything, but just so we can see that people are coming over from our site. Anyway, let's get back to the charts. Back to the regular charts. We needed a little distraction. That's what I thought. Kick off Friday with a little distraction. Yesterday closed all-time high. The day before closed all-time high. And here we are with the first red day in a little bit. Actually mirroring, in my opinion, pretty close to Monday's candle here. If we close up again, we'll have a similar, pretty ugly red candle, but kind of close to hammerish. When we zoom out, we we can see that this sell-off may have been spooky earlier today, but now is looking to close pretty bullishly. The all-time high before this month was 109,358.01 and today we have sold off below there, though buyers do seem to be coming in, and we do seem to be seeing 109.3 acting as support here. A close above on Friday's candle today, I think it's going to be very bullish. Close below may set us up for some weekend selling, but at this point, I'm not sure why or who is betting down. This seems pretty crazy to be betting against Bitcoin here at all-time high. We've moved up. We've left the bears in the dust for the third year in a row. Dip buying has paid, and we are back at all-time highs. Retail interest seemingly very, very low still. Not a ton of new people coming into the space. Not yet. Maybe that's because alts haven't moved. We'll take a look at some alts. We'll take a look at some other stuff here on the corn. Real quick, let's just catch up. Golden Cross completed 2 days ago, Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. We got a little continuation. Some red into the G cross. The Golden Cross has been seen pretty much every year. About 10% pullback after each Golden Cross. Doesn't mean it has to happen this year. It's not guaranteed. But even, right here, what do we got? 3%, 4%? Not quite enough. On the week. Did we get the cross up yet? Gosh, it's edging us, man. At the end of this week, soon as Sunday rolls in, look on the weekly Ichimoku cloud. Look for this cross to the upside. This is another one, if you're here for the intro, another one of those just mirrors, one of those reflections of what we've seen each year of this bull run. On the weekly, we had a cross down roughly at the low. Then we got a cross up. That front run, the climb or the expansive move to the upside. This happened in October of last year. It happened in October the year before. We had the exact same setup. So similar to those hash ribbons, we have this weekly Ichimoku cloud set up. There are just so many parallels, man. So many. The death cross at the low, like the only thing that isn't almost perfectly the same is the timing. And this is something we've been talking about a good amount on this channel. Honestly, since the year started. The timing of this year is just off. And does that matter? I mean, I guess not. It certainly kind of avoided my expectations. We saw last year, the year before, strong Q1s, strong Q4s. This year we had a weak Q1. Now it appears we're going to have a strong Q2. I wonder if we're going to have a strong Q3. Maybe we'll see the highest point of this rally in Q3, and then Q4 is just down. Maybe the bear market starts a little early. Maybe all those expectations are off the table. Maybe things just play out completely differently than we've seen in other cycles. Who knows? If there is going to be a mix-up in the 4-year cycle, I think this year has the greatest shot at it, right? That's what I would say. Everything's still looking solid. For the first time on the day, Bitcoin, I'd say this is like the first time, I don't even know, in this entire rally from 15,000, we have not had bearish divergence on our highs on the daily time frame. We have higher highs in price, followed by higher highs in RSI. There isn't technically anything, I guess I don't want to say it isn't bullish. It's not bullish divergence when this happens. It's just no divergence. The reason I would say that this is bullish is almost every other time over the last 3 years that we have seen Bitcoin rally to new highs, we have this looming bearish divergence above us. Every time we hit a high, you'll hear the bears come out of the woodwork saying, yeah, but look, it's bearish divergence. That means it's going to go down. How's that worked out for you? How's that played for you, right? Not that well. Here we are, though, at new highs, and for the first time, things are looking, I'd say, pretty solid from a technical indicator. Things are not overheated. They're not overextended. We've built, honestly, for a Bitcoin bull run, we have built support below us in a way I've never seen. Moves up, long periods of pulling back, getting weak hands to fold, testing support, or previous resistance as support, holding, moving higher, rinse and repeat. Like these highs, man, are kind of wild. Bitcoin typically in its bull runs will just run straight up inefficiently, and eventually you got to pay the piper. It comes back down. This run has been different in ways. Take a look at our highs and lows, right? March brought us to a high. Well, I guess I should even start before that. January ETF resistance. March brought us to a new high. We back tested that ETF resistance. We moved up to 110. Back tested that previous resistance from March. We've never seen it move this sustainably. That's something I can say with confidence. It's never moved this sustainably. That could have implications into this run. Maybe the run's longer. Maybe the pullbacks or the bear market isn't as bad. I don't know. What we could say is if this price action repeats, we may be looking for a move up to 140, 160. That'd be the 60% gain from the hash ribbon signal that we said earlier. And maybe we'd be looking for a pullback to 110. That would fit, or that would repeat again this exact thing we have seen all the way up. Honestly, man, every time I think about saying this time's different, I just have terrible PTSD flashbacks. But this time, there's something I feel definably different. It sits somewhere in sentiment. It obviously sits somewhere in global, like a global situation. It's interesting that Bitcoin is up at all-time highs. It's up about 50% from the previous all-time high. 50%? A little bit more, 60%. Yet global M2, US M2, let's just talk about US M2, just hit all-time high. Literally just reached all-time high in March. We don't have April's data or May's data, but it is interesting that we are so high above where the previous, previous Bitcoin all-time high cycle, right about here. We are so high above there in price, yet we are just reaching back there in US M2. There just feels like something is going to be different. God, I hope I don't regret saying that. You always do. Where's that chart I had? I guess we'll stick with this one. Low time frames. Man, I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin run into the weekend. The only things that I think Bitcoin has against it right now, and these are very short term, maybe even just my paranoia, is we have the Bitcoin conference coming up next week. I have gone to the last 4 or 5 of them, and every single time I've gone, it has been selling off into them or selling off during them. And it is a little stressful to be heading to Vegas on Tuesday and see Bitcoin at all-time highs. Just lots of trauma there. In fact, it's like a running joke or kind of an insider thing to say it always sells off at the conferences, because it has. This might be the first time it doesn't. Knock on wood. That'd be crazy. And 2, we do have this golden cross that just triggered. And while it is not a bearish signal at all in any way, we do very commonly kind of see at least local highs come in at them. They usually end up getting surpassed in the weeks to come. But kind of lined up with the Bitcoin conference, I do have a little bit of, I'm sweating a little bit. It's a little anxious, a little uncomfortable. But maybe that's also just from the bigger, entire run has felt this way. The whole run has just like kept us at the edge of our seats in a boring, anxious way. So much so, honestly, guys, I'll be real. So much so that this 110, 112K that we've hit this week, while it's awesome, and I'm very happy about it, I don't really feel any of like the excitement that we felt in these previous runs. We've been live here for like 6 years. We've seen some pretty big moves, some all-time highs. They've all felt maybe more exciting, more euphoric than right here, despite price being higher. I'm curious if you guys feel the same way. I know some of you definitely do, but I'm curious kind of like what percent. We'll do a poll here. We'll do a poll, but let me pull up the chat. Kind of boring day. Dude, that's the exact conditioning I'm talking about. We are like at all-time highs and it's a boring day. I agree. Like I feel you. I'm on the same page. I agree. It's weird that I feel this way though. Like logically, we're at over 100K. We're holding over 100K. We're holding over basically 110K. It feels boring. Maybe it's because alts haven't moved. Maybe that's it. I don't think so much for me though, because of course I've had some great alt positions and great bags and stuff and made great profits, but Bitcoin's always been my baby. It's been the one I really care about. I don't know, I feel broken a little bit. Let's earn and learn. That's right, Up and Run. What's up, brother? 150K next. Yeah. Honestly, I don't even know if I'd be excited 150K. It just doesn't feel that big. Maybe over 200 or something would like begin. I don't know. Where do I start feeling it? Maybe I don't feel it though, or maybe we're not feeling it as much because there is no real retail. There's no like new class coming in, or at least doesn't feel like it. Maybe we need those new euphoric people to fully feel our euphoria. I don't know. I'm not sure. You've lost all feelings, dude. I don't know what it is. I feel the same way. What is going on? Are we broken? If alt season's already over, you're going to be pissed. It never began. It never began. There's really